reasons why you should not move to San Antonio in 2025. Are you thinking about moving to San Antonio in 2025? Well, before you pack those bags, here's why it might not be the best decision to make this year. We're going to be diving into some unexpected challenges and obstacles that you should consider, because let's face it, the last thing that both of us want to happen is for you to spend thousands of dollars to relocate to San Antonio only to be miserable and hate this place. So today we're going to be diving into the top reasons why you should reconsider moving to San Antonio in 2025, whether it's the cost of living, career opportunities, the real estate market, or any other factors. I've got you covered here. But if we have not met yet, my name is Brock and I sell new construction homes right here in San Antonio and the surrounding areas. So if you need some help buying a new construction house, if you have questions about buying a house, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've got all of my contact information down below and I would love to help you out however I can. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me whenever you have a question about buying a home right here in San Antonio. But with that out of the way, let's get into these reasons here why you should not move to San Antonio in 2025. Now I had to go back just a little bit to dig into some numbers to really kind of relay and share with you the impact of the rising housing cost here. So I went back to 2020. That was of course right before a lot of boom in the real estate market happened. But back in 2020, the median price point of a house here in San Antonio was about $249,000, with the average price of a house in San Antonio being right at $289,000. So that was the median and average price of a home back in 2020. Fast forward to today, our MLS here just put out the stats for January of 2025, and the median price point of a home was about $295,000, while the average price of a house in San Antonio in January was $352,000. So just looking at those two data sets there, you can see over the last 5 years that home prices have risen quite significantly during that time. Of course, again, during 2020, 2021, we had a big housing boom. You know, a lot of people went out there and entered the market to buy houses, and it really drove the prices of homes up. But along with that, people have since been purchasing homes and home prices have appreciated with time, which is normal to see over time as well. So with this, I wanted to illustrate just that rising price in the housing cost alone, because let's face it, there are a lot of living expenses just in general. Of course, housing expense is usually someone's largest monthly expense, and you can see that over, again, that time, the average price point has risen about $60,000 over the last 5 years. Now, keeping in line with the housing cost, if we want to start looking at the rental rates, back in 2020, the average rental was about $1,400 a month. So that was including all bedroom types, all property types, whether it's an apartment, condo, a house, multifamily house, anything like that. You could expect to pay about $1,400 a month in rent back in 2020. Now, fast forwarding to January of this year in 2025, we can see that the average rental price is just shy of $1,700 a month at $1,685 per month. So that alone has increased just about $200, almost $300 a month in average rental during the same time that the housing prices have increased about $60,000. Now, outside of that, I know in that time frame as well, the utility cost here in San Antonio has risen as well. So it is a little bit more expensive to have access to water and electricity in your house. Of course, both of those things are necessities. So unfortunately, we have to pay those fees to the city of San Antonio and those respective entities for their electricity and water services at our homes. On top of that, we have seen a growth in the property tax rate. Texas is well known for having high property taxes. In fact, here in San Antonio, we can expect property tax rates to be about 1.7% all the way up to about 2.4%. There might be a little bit of variation on either end there. And of course, each neighborhood is different because of the different tax rates that are out there. Each school district, the county, the city, they all have their own tax rates here. In San Antonio, you can expect to pay about 54 to 55 cents per $100 of tax assessed value in taxes, but that's not including the school districts, the roads, and all of the other things that are added into your property tax bill on an annual basis. The property tax rate alone is a significant factor into why people do not move to San Antonio. I've heard from other folks in like California, yeah, they have higher prices on the homes. However, their tax rate for the property is significantly lower. So, I mean, their payments are about the same, even though they have the higher prices. Of course, there are other factors that contribute to the overall cost of living in these areas. So that is one major factor that brings people to San Antonio. However, it can be a detracting factor if someone's looking at other metro areas that maybe don't have a high property tax rate like San Antonio. There are ways, of course, to mitigate your property tax liability, whether it's, property tax exemptions based on your age, the homestead exemption, or if you're a veteran with a disability rating. There are a number of other ways to get property tax exemptions. So please feel free to look at the website for Bexar County and just see what property tax exemptions that you qualify for. All right, so with the rising housing costs out of the way, what is the next major reason why you should consider not moving to San Antonio? And it's related to the challenges with the job market. Here in San Antonio, we are well known for, I would say, maybe 3 major job industries. We've got the military, which has a huge presence across the entire city. We've got 3 active military bases nurses and a lot of retirees and active duty personnel here in the city. Outside of that, we do also have a lot of medical personnel. So we've got a lot of jobs when it comes to healthcare, whether you're a doctor or a nurse or anything related to those fields. There's a lot of opportunity for that as well. And another major industry I see here in San Antonio is related to the cybersecurity industry, which is where I came from prior to me becoming a real estate agent. I worked in that cyber career field for about 5 years. I enjoyed it and I saw a lot of opportunity there. Last year in 2024 in the San Antonio metro area, there was about 34,000 people seeking jobs out there in the marketplace. And it really just kind of goes to show that it was, a competitive market for those that are looking for employment opportunities. Despite those challenges though, there was about a 2% increase in the growth rate for jobs in the San Antonio metro area. So it does show that there is some increase in the number of jobs available, but there's also a growing number of people actively looking for jobs out there. So unfortunately, across the board, it might be a challenge for you to find a job or a career path if you're not in one of those three major industries that I've already mentioned. Now, of course, there are some other industries, major industries here in San Antonio that could potentially be an option for you guys if you are in those career paths. But please do your due diligence before moving here, because I have seen people take, jobs in, Austin, Dallas, or even Houston because they're offering a higher salary with a very similar cost of living experience. And I know, again, Austin's a little bit higher on the cost of living when it comes to housing especially, but regardless, the other factors when it comes to like groceries, utilities, all that, it's going to be very similar to the housing market right here in San Antonio. So I don't see that being a competitive market to take away, given that the housing cost in Austin is significantly higher than here in San Antonio. All right, now the third reason why you do not want to move to San Antonio is actually related to the infrastructure issues that we do have right here in the city. Of course, any major city out there is going to have a lot of congestion. I know when people think of traffic, they think of like LA and New York with the massive amounts of people just on the roadways. And I wouldn't say it's exactly the same here in San Antonio, but it doesn't feel very far off either. See, I've lived here in San Antonio for over 20 years now, and so I've seen the city grow pretty rapidly and extensively rather over that 20-year period of time, and I've seen a lot of people moving to the city. With this, the city has been very slow, in my opinion, to upgrade the roads, whether it's just a simple repair, adding a couple of lanes, or whatever it may be to improve the road system here in San Antonio. And it's very disheartening to see that there's just so much congestion on the highways and even the side roads here. Now, starting about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, some of the major highways are starting to expand. For example, Loop 1604, which is the outer loop that we have in San Antonio, it's responsible for a lot of traffic and connecting one major highway to another. So it's very widely and commonly used for travel. And for the longest time, it was only 2 lanes each direction, especially in a city that's got about 2 million people. That is not a very wide highway for how publicly used it is. And about a year and a half or 2 years ago, they started widening the highway so that they can add more lanes. They're going from 2 lanes each direction to about 6 lanes each direction. So once they do finish that project in several years from now, it will be a really great thing that happens, but hopefully it's not too small at that point. That's just my opinion there. But what I'm trying to get at here is the highway systems are very slow to add lanes to, help ease some of the congestion. And with the construction that we currently have on, it feels like every major highway intersection, every major highway in the city is currently being worked on to expand and make it even better. So with that, with the construction there are significant delays when it comes to, rush hour traffic. The weekends, they tend to shut down the highways so that they can work on these highways and overpasses, but it just adds to the congestion on all of the side roads, access roads, the back roads around these areas. So unfortunately, the public infrastructure on the roads is just very slow to expand, and right now it's not accommodating all of the residents here in the city, but they're working on it. I think all of the highways are supposed to be done in the next 3 to 5 years with construction, although they're very slowly opening these different phases. So some areas have a few more lanes now, but there's still construction to add the additional lanes that they're going to be adding to these highways. On top of the traffic that they have on all of the highways, a lot of the side roads getting from the highways to where all of these neighborhoods are, there's a ton of traffic. There's traffic lights, school zones, 2 or 3 lanes each direction with the lower speed limits, all the fun stuff. So there's just congestion all over San Antonio, it seems like. Now, you may be thinking, hey Brock, I'm moving from a city where there's some public transportation. I can just ride the train. Well, that's great for those cities, but San Antonio does not have any public transportation system outside of their city bus system. And depending on where you're at, you may only have a couple of stops nearby. So if you're moving to San Antonio, you're going to be relying heavily on your own personal vehicle to get you around the city, because the bus system, in my opinion, is not the greatest. It's kind of limited depending on the locations you're at, and not many people that I'm aware of actually use it. Most everyone that I know uses their own personal vehicle, to go shopping, to go downtown, to a major area, wherever it may be, but a lot of people just do not use the public transportation system here in San Antonio. Antonio. All right, and the final reason why you should not move to San Antonio in 2025 is related to the quality of life that people have here in San Antonio. And I'm not going to get into any major details when it comes to like actual like health issues and stuff, but I wanted to touch on some more higher level stuff that people have, relayed to me during their experience here in San Antonio. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand here in San Antonio is how hot it can get. During the summer here in San Antonio, temperatures often reach 100 degrees and it can be quite humid as well on top of the high heat. With that, a lot of people who move from the West Coast, the Northeast, or maybe areas where it's a little bit cooler are just not used to the hot weather that we have here in the city. Now, I have had a client in the past that moved from the Pacific Northwest. When they got here and to San Antonio, they were like, "Hey Brock, this is really hot. Is it ever going to cool down?" And I had to tell them that it was going to be quite a while before it cooled down. Usually our cool months are usually between like December to February. Sometimes it's a little bit sooner, sometimes it's a little longer, but those 2 to 3 months are usually where it's cooler. At the time of me recording this video, we are in the middle of February and it's currently 70 degrees and sunny outside. So do with that what you will. I know this past Christmas as well, it was probably in the high 60s, mid 70s, somewhere in that range. And I was able to wear shorts on Christmas Day in 2024. So I personally don't like the cold. It doesn't get cold very often or very fast around San Antonio unless a cold front comes through, but it does get warm relatively fast and it will stay that way. On top of the high heat, we also typically have limited rainfall during the summertime. So match those two weather elements together and we are often in drought conditions where it's very dry, very humid, very hot as well, and people just are not acclimated to it if they haven't lived here in San Antonio for a while. Now, there are a lot of things you can do to help cool off, whether it's playing in the water, at the lake, the river, at a water park, or whatever it may be, but those things can also be very crowded as everyone else is trying to do the same things to keep cool and enjoy the summertime. Outside of the weather, there may be some things here in San Antonio that might not quite match up with your current lifestyle. I know I've helped some families move from areas that are more outdoorsy like Colorado, and when they got here, they wanted to continue fishing and hiking and biking and all those fun things, but in San Antonio, they were having a hard time finding those things to do. Now, there are areas to go fishing and, there are areas to go hiking. There's a lot of walking trails here, and some people have even told me that the hiking trails here in San Antonio are more like a walking trail instead of an actual hike. So if you are an outdoorsy person, it may be difficult for you to find those things. Outside of trying to find some outdoorsy activities, if you are very much into the nightlife and you want to go out and enjoy like a bars or the clubs or anything like that, I know those are here in San Antonio. I don't do that stuff myself, so I'm not really sure which those areas are, but I've heard that they're very limited, especially if you're coming from other areas where maybe the nightlife is more active and more engaging out in those areas. So just knowing that some of these things that you are currently enjoying in your current lifestyle in whichever city you are living in, they might not be here in San Antonio. So please do some research, see if those lifestyle things that you are finding near and dear to your heart are located here in San Antonio and what you can do to enjoy yourself while you're here in the city. So those are the reasons I wanted to share with you on why you should not move to San Antonio in 2025. But do you agree with these reasons, or do you think that San Antonio still has a lot to offer in 2025? Please let me know down in the comments and let me know, do you think you should still buy in San Antonio this year, or do you think you should be waiting? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below, but I know each city has a lot to offer. There's a lot of pros and cons to each city, and your reason why you shouldn't move to San Antonio might not be someone else's reason. But if you would like some help finding a house here in San Antonio, if you just have general questions about buying a house, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I've got all my contact information down below, and I would love to be a resource and help you make that move right here in the city of San Antonio. But with that, if you haven't already, please make sure to like this video, and while you're there, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon as well, so that you'll be the first to know whenever I post a video about living in San Antonio or share another beautiful home tour with you guys. So with that, thank you one last time for watching this video today. I hope you have an incredible day, and I can't wait to talk to you guys here soon.